to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Kaitlyn, and today we are doing something that's kind of unique and really exciting. I know I can't wait to film this video. Today we are going to be reading some vintage dance magazines. So I was actually gifted these two vintage dance magazines from a brand called Parisian, and they just have the most beautifully curated vintage items. And they didn't ask me to make this video, but when they sent me these, I just felt so inspired and I really wanted to read them with you guys on my channel, so that's what we're gonna do. So these are two different editions of the same magazine, Dancing Times, and this one right here was published August 1971, and this one was published a little bit more recently, February 1977, so still very vintage, and it's very exciting that we're gonna be able to read these together. I think I'm gonna start off with the older one, so let's just jump right into it. So as you can see, the magazine is in perfect condition almost. It's got this really cool image of like a silhouette of a dancer on the cover, and this is just where the photograph is from. So it is Virgie Derman of the Royal Ballet and Glenn Tetley's Field Figures. So that's where this picture is from. I've never heard of that before, Field Figures. I'll have to search it up, but I've never heard of that before. So as soon as you open the magazine, you have all of these different advertisements for shows, ballet shows, that are playing around the time that this magazine was published, obviously. So you've got Sleeping Beauty, Giselle, Les Sylphides. Never heard of that one. Anastasia, Giselle, Swan Lake, and then Field Figures, which was what was on the cover of this magazine. You have a little advertisement for arts education and the Royal Ballet on tour. As you keep going into it, so there's more advertisements on this side. You can see Institute of Choreology. I've never heard that word before. And then there's like a big calendar. More advertisements, schools for sale, ballerina model dolls, ballet shoes for sale. Then there's some job postings as well, which is really interesting. I can't imagine looking for a job in a magazine. Like, could you imagine? That would be really different from today's times. Okay, and then this is really interesting too. So over here, there's actually a bunch of places to buy fabric, which makes sense. I guess you would need places to go for costumes and tights and stuff like that. It's just really interesting that they would include that in a dance magazine, because I thought this would more be for the people that are just interested in dance and knowing what's going on in the dance world. But I guess it's also for people who are putting together shows and stuff like that, which is super interesting. So then we get into the actual articles, I believe. So this big page over here says, "Who said I was always years ahead of my time, but this time, too many years." These bitter words were uttered by a deeply disappointed... I love these names that I can't pronounce. Dialev? I don't know. In 1921, he had just witnessed the failure of his lavish production, The Sleeping Princess, after little more than 100 performances. Interesting, I've never heard that. I'm gonna have to look that up because I'm not familiar with that ballet, so I don't know if it like took off afterwards, because he says he's years ahead, so I wonder if that did end up taking off or if it just kind of faded into the oblivion. Then you have a whole piece here on Béjart and his ballet. It looks like this is some sort of like modern ballet company. Like, this definitely isn't kind of like the Nutcracker or anything like that, but it looks very cool. I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but I will show you some of the pictures. And then there's an article on what is called the greatest show on earth. When I think of that, I always think of The Greatest Showman, but this is not an article about The Greatest Showman, obviously, and it actually doesn't really clearly state what show this is about either. I'm trying to read through it and I don't see it. The Toad's Dream. That's another one that I've never heard of, The Toad's Dream. That's so interesting. I'm gonna have to like make a little list for myself and see all the stuff that I have to look up, because I'm really interested to know more about these ballets that I've never heard of. So I'm just flipping through it. There's just more articles, kind of like the first few that I showed you, really long ones. Oh, this one's really interesting. Common faults in the teaching of classical dance. Now, I actually find this really interesting because I am a dance teacher. So I'm gonna see what it says. So it says, "The Boy and Stance. The boy should also use the first part of the exercise for girls to obtain his correct stance so that his weight is properly balanced. But when his spine is fully stretched and he matures, the difference between his stance and that of the girl must clearly be defined, because he does not have to carry the extra weight of breast and buttocks at any time during his development. That is true. There's definitely something to be said for the fact that boys and girls in ballet, obviously, there's different techniques because their body types are different. This is really, really interesting. I'm gonna have to read through this. So this article actually seems to focus on boys rather than girls, because even down here it says position of the boy's arms and hands. It goes over that, which is super interesting. Okay, and then on the next page it actually does go over the girls' arms positions as well. And then it talks about the preparation for the arms and pirouettes. So I'm actually going to read through the preparation for the arms and pirouettes because I think that's super interesting. So it says, the use of the shortened first position. Both boy and girl should understand how to control the arms in a shortened first when using them as preparation for and during pirouettes. Because if the arms are held in correct first, RAD, fifth en avant in cecchetti, they tend to pull the body forward and cannot be so held later when performing double work. To help the children feel the shortened position, it is useful to make them stand correctly with their back to the wall or lying flat on the floor. Place arms in correct second. Draw fingertips toward each other by moving the forearm only from the elbow. When the angle thus formed makes it difficult to maintain the rounded look of the arms, bring the whole arm more slightly forward from the shoulders until the fingers are correctly placed, i.e. the girls all but touching and the boys with the width of his head apart. A pirouette should begin with the preparatory arm being drawn into the shortened first. The other arm is still being held in second. Then, without any movement from the shoulders, the preparatory arm moves to the second as the dancer rises, boys, or releve, girls spring to the points, to demi or full point, simultaneously raising the working leg and bringing the other arm to meet the preparatory arm so that both arrive at the shortened first simultaneously as the dancer rises into the turn. This controlled opening and closing into a shortened first ensures the stability of the turn and prevents the dancer's stance and balance being upset by the force of the shoulder coming into the turn. See photo 8. And this is photo 8 right here, which honestly I'm not sure how helpful that is with that description because I thought it was a little bit convoluted, especially if you are just trying to explain this to children. I feel like there's definitely there has to be a better way to explain that. That was a lot. Like, I know how to do pirouettes and I found that hard to keep up with, so I can just imagine someone who doesn't know how to do them trying to read this and figure out what this means. But like I said, I think this magazine was intended for like dancers, like people who are very serious, who are already in the industry. That's what this looks like to me. And then there's another article here on dancing in Italy, which is super interesting. You guys know I am Italian and I love all things Italy. I think this would be a really interesting thing to read. I'm sure it talks about Italian ballets as well. I can see something called La Création du Monde, a bunch of different ballets that were being performed in Italy, obviously. They might not be right now, but who knows. And then it talks about some pioneers of the Royal Ballet Theatre, so Harold Turner. Some really, really cool pictures on this page. And then a class with Mastro Cecchetti. Now, I don't know if he was like the original Cecchetti who invented the Cecchetti method, but that's really interesting if that talks about that. Alwyn Nicolai. I've never heard of him either. I feel like I really need to brush up on my ballet. My high school ballet teachers would be so disappointed in me. And then it says Royal Ballet School, and it's got a bunch of really pretty pictures, which again, I will show you. And then over here we have another article and also an ad for a ballet shop where you can get famous ballet shoes. So I'm also looking at the prices right now and everything is so cheap compared to what it was today. I could not imagine ever getting block toe ballet shoes for €1.83. That would be crazy. I'm not sure how much that translates to in the Canadian dollar off the top of my head, but that seems very, very low. Then it talks about dancers on TV and another advertisement for a school of the arts, which is really interesting. And then there's actually an obituary as well, if you can see that, which again feels kind of out of place. I'm kind of surprised about it, but then again, if this is a dance magazine, I could see them trying to honor dancers who were involved with the industry that people would know, like recognizable names that people would know. Alright, so I'm gonna put this one down for now, and I'm going to pick up the second magazine and we'll look through this one together. See if there's anything really interesting that stands out. So once again, the magazine just seems to start off in the same way with advertisements and a calendar. This one's in yellow, it's very fancy. So far it's pretty much looking the same as the other one. Lots of advertisements for where to buy ballet clothes, lots of dance school advertisements. This is actually the Royal Academy of Dancing, an advertisement for them, and it's got International Summer School, Teachers Refresher Course, Scholars Week, Professional Dancers Teaching Course, Master Classes, and Children Examinations, which is really interesting. Hi guys, sorry if the lighting or the camera angle changed. My camera just died, so I'm gonna pick up where we left off. I think I was just talking about how cheap they're selling ballet shoes for in here, and it is really, really inexpensive. It's kind of crazy to look at because you could never, ever, ever get a ballet, like a point shoe, for this inexpensive now. All right, so just a bunch more advertisements for different ballet schools. And then there's actually this right here, which is really interesting and I think helpful. And it says where to learn. And it just has this giant list of dance studios in the UK, because it's a UK magazine, but then it also has a bunch of overseas schools, so that it lists one in France, Italy, Germany, and then many, many more. And then I just want to show you the back of it too, because it's really cute. A little like big jeté, a little big jeté. Anyways, you guys, I am gonna leave it at that for today. I hope you enjoyed this video because it was very different from what I normally do, but I really enjoy making vintage content, and I have some more ideas if you want to see some more vintage content. So let me know in the comment section down below. Also, if you are interested in checking out this shop that I mentioned, they gave me a discount code to share over on my Instagram, which if you don't follow me on there, you definitely should. But they gave me a discount code to share with my audience, so if you guys want 10% off at She's Parisian, the code is Kaitlyn, and it's valid until tonight at 7:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 11:59 p.m. if you're in the UK, which I believe is GMT time. I will also be announcing the winner of my giveaway today over on my Instagram, so make sure you are paying attention to my stories over there, because I will be letting you know the winner. But anyways, you guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!